Charles de Gaulle International Airport was as crowded as ever. Flight announcements were heard in multiple languages. Streams of people hurriedly moved between gates, dragging suitcases of all sizes. The luxurious space of France's largest airport was always filled with tourists and businessmen from all over the world. Maya Josephine Robinson, 43, was sitting in the VIP waiting area of Skyline International. With her naturally curly hair tied back, simple jeans, a white t-shirt and a thin denim jacket, she looked completely different from the typical business travelers around her. No makeup, no expensive jewelry, no designer handbags. Just a high-quality used backpack and a book on aviation economics. Maya had just finished a week-long business trip to France, where she had secret meetings with investors and leaders of the European aviation industry. Now, all she wanted to do was get home to Chicago, where her 12-year-old daughter was waiting for her. That was why she had chosen the most comfortable outfit possible for the 9-hour transatlantic flight. Flight SL-289 from Paris to Chicago will begin boarding in 30 minutes. Business and first-class passengers, please prepare to board, the voice on the loudspeaker announced. Maya stood up, shouldered her backpack, and headed toward the gate with the other VIP passengers. She didn't realize that she was the center of questioning and suspicious eyes. Pierre Dubois, 50, the head flight attendant for today's flight, was checking the VIP passenger list as Maya handed over her ticket. "Excuse me, miss," Pierre said with a polite but suspicious smile. "I think you've got the wrong row. This is the row for business class passengers. Economy class will board later." Maya looked Pierre straight in the eye, showing no sign of discomfort or confusion. "No, I'm not mistaken. I have a business class ticket. Here's my ticket." She handed over her e-ticket and passport. Pierre glanced at her and then looked back at Maya with an appraising gaze. "Yes, you do have a business class ticket. But let me ask, are you sure you want to sit in business class? We can change your ticket to economy and refund the difference if you want." Pierre's question was full of the implication that Maya was not suitable for business class. A few passengers around her began to pay attention to this conversation, and more than a few of them nodded in agreement with Pierre's attitude. Maya could feel the appraising gazes directed at her. "I'm sure I want to sit in the seat I paid for," Maya replied, her voice calm but firm. "Please let me board." Pierre looked uncomfortable, but he had to let Maya pass. However, as Maya passed, she heard Pierre whisper into his intercom, "We have a problem in business class." On the plane, Maya found her seat 2A, a window seat in the luxurious business class cabin of Skyline International. She had just sat down when a flight attendant named Amelie approached her with a worried look on her face. "Excuse me, ma'am," Amelie said, her voice low. "It seems there has been a mistake. This seat belongs to business class." "I know," Maya replied, tired of this recurring situation. "I paid for business class. Here is my ticket." Maya handed Amelie her ticket again. The flight attendant checked it and nodded reluctantly, but she still stood there, looking uncomfortable. "Is there anything else?" Maya asked. I just wanted to ask, are you sure you understand the business class fare? It's much more expensive than economy," and Amelie hesitated, trying to find a polite way to say that she thought Maya couldn't afford it. "I understand the fare I paid," Maya said, her voice starting to strain. "Now, if there's nothing else, I'd like to rest before takeoff." Amelie reluctantly left, but not long after, Pierre, the head flight attendant, appeared beside Maya. "Ma'am, I apologize for the inconvenience, but we're having a little problem. We have a VIP passenger who needs to sit here for security reasons. May I offer you a seat in economy for a compensation?" Maya was used to situations like this. Even though she is the CEO of Sky Alliance Group, a group that owns 5 airlines, including Skyline International, she still faces discrimination on a regular basis because of her skin color and her casual dress. Today, however, after a stressful week at work, she decided not to let this go easily. "No, I will not change seats," Maya said clearly. "And I would like to speak to the highest person in charge on this flight right now." Pierre looked confused and annoyed. Ma'am, I am the highest person in charge on this flight. I am the chief flight attendant. Then I would like to speak to the captain, Maya said firmly. Miss Robinson, I don't think that's necessary. We're just trying to resolve a situation. The only situation here is that you're trying to kick me out of a seat that I paid for because you judged me based on my appearance. I want to speak to the captain right now, or I'll make sure this is reported to the upper management of Skyline International. At this point, the other passengers in the business class cabin were paying attention to the conversation. Many of them looked annoyed at Maya, thinking that she was causing unnecessary trouble. A middle-aged man in an expensive suit sitting nearby even spoke up. Ma'am, we're about to take off. If the airline staff asked you to move seats, they must have a good reason. Maya turned to look at the man. The only reason they want me to move seats is because they think I don't belong here. And I wonder why they think that. The tension in the cabin was growing. Pierre, sensing that the situation might get worse, had to call the captain. After a few minutes, the captain, Captain Jean-Luc Bernard, appeared in the business class cabin. He was a tall man, about 55 years old, with silver hair and a calm demeanor. Good morning, I am Captain Bernard, he said. I have been informed that there is a problem that needs to be resolved before we take off. Hello, Captain, Maya replied. I am Maya Robinson. I have a business class ticket for this flight, but your staff have tried several times to remove me from my seat, asking me to move to economy. Captain Bernard looked at Pierre with a questioning gaze. Captain, Pierre explained, we have a problem with the seating. We need to reserve the seat for an important VIP. This seat has been paid for and booked for me, Maya interrupted. I don't understand why I'm being treated like this. Captain Bernard looked at Maya, then at her ticket, and finally at Pierre. Pierre, Miss Robinson booked and paid for this seat. I see no reason to ask her to move. If there is a problem with other VIP passenger seats, we need to find another solution. Pierre looked displeased with the decision, but he couldn't argue with the captain. Miss Robinson, Captain Bernard said, sorry for the inconvenience. You can remain seated. We'll be taking off in 15 minutes. Maya nodded her thanks, and Captain Bernard returned to the cockpit, while Pierre and Amélie left with displeased looks on their faces. The flight took off on time. Skyline International's luxurious business class cabin was known for its flatbed seats, 21-inch personal entertainment screens, and top-notch dining. However, Maya could sense that the service she received was not as good as that of the other passengers. Her drink was served later. The flight attendants rarely checked to see if she needed anything, and when her meal was served, Maya's portion was the last, making her wait longer than the others. The passenger sitting next to Maya, an Asian businessman named David Chen, noticed the difference in how she was treated. They're not very friendly to you, he commented. Maya smiled. I'm used to it. Are you on business? David asked, trying to make conversation. Yes, I just finished a week of work in Paris, Maya replied. What about you? I have a meeting with the leadership of Sky Alliance Group, David said. Maya raised an eyebrow, looking interested. Really? What a coincidence. I work in the airline industry too. Oh, really? What airline do you work for? David asked. I work for Sky Alliance Group, Maya replied simply, not revealing her position. Really? Then perhaps we'll meet at the Chicago headquarters, David said. I have an appointment with their CEO tomorrow. I've never met her before, Maya Robinson. Do you know her? Maya chuckled. I'd say I know her very well. Their conversation was interrupted by Pierre approaching, his face clearly troubled. Sorry to bother you, he said, but the captain would like to confirm the identities of some VIP passengers as required by airport security. Miss Robinson, I need to see your passport. Maya knew this was just a way for Pierre to check if she really belonged in business class. She silently handed him her passport. Pierre opened it, checked the information, and suddenly, he froze in place, his eyes wide with surprise. You are Maya Josephine Robinson? CEO of Sky Alliance Group? Pierre asked, his voice trembling. David Chen, who was sitting next to Maya, turned to look at her with an expression of disbelief. Yes, I am, Maya confirmed, her voice calm. Pierre could hardly breathe. Sky Alliance Group not only owned Skyline International, the airline he worked for, but was also one of the largest airline groups in the world, with billions of dollars in annual revenue. And the woman he and his colleagues had tried to kick out of business class was the head of the group. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Robinson, Pierre stammered. I don't know. That's the problem, isn't it? Maya said, her voice calm but powerful. You don't know who I am, so you judge me based on my appearance. You saw a plainly dressed black woman and decided she didn't belong in business class. Pierre stood there, his face red with embarrassment. David Chen looked at Maya with shock and respect. Mrs. Robinson, I can't believe it. I've prepared a long presentation for our meeting tomorrow, David said. I look forward to hearing it, Mr. Chen, Maya replied with a polite smile. News of Maya's presence quickly spread throughout the plane. Captain Bernard left the cockpit to personally greet and apologize to her. The flight attendants, who had previously ignored Maya, were now extremely attentive and enthusiastic in serving her. Mrs. Robinson, we've prepared a bottle of Dom Perignon champagne to apologize to you, Amelie said, her concern evident. And if there's anything else you need. What I need, Maya said, is for you to treat every passenger on this flight with dignity and respect, no matter what they wear, what they look like, or who you think they are. That's the kind of service I want to see at Skyline International. Amelie nodded, looking embarrassed. Yes, Mrs. Robinson. We'll do better. The rest of the flight took place in a completely different atmosphere. Maya was treated like an honored guest, but she noticed that the flight attendants were also starting to pay more attention to all the other passengers, especially those they might have ignored before. As the plane landed in Chicago, Captain Bernard announced over the PA system, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to welcome Ms. Maya Robinson, CEO of Sky Alliance Group, on board today. We thank you for choosing Skyline International." As Maya walked through the business class cabin to exit the plane, Pierre stood there with an apologetic look on his face. Mrs. Robinson, once again, I deeply apologize for my behavior. I learned a valuable lesson today. Maya paused, looking Pierre straight in the eye. I hope the lesson wasn't just don't judge people because they might be your boss. I hope the real lesson was don't judge people, point. Pierre nodded, his eyes showing true understanding. Yes, ma'am. I understand. As Maya stepped off the plane, David Chen was still with her. Mrs. Robinson, I was really impressed with the way you handled this situation, he said. If it's okay, I'd like to invite you to dinner instead of the formal meeting tomorrow. I think we can discuss our cooperation in a more relaxed setting. Maya smiled. I think that's a good idea, Mr. Chen. And if you don't mind, I'll still wear jeans. That's my style. David laughed. I look forward to seeing that. 2 weeks later, an internal memo was sent to all employees of Skyline International and other airlines in the Sky Alliance Group. Dear staff, I am writing to announce a new initiative we are calling Respect at Every Level. From now on, all Sky Alliance Group staff will participate in a new training program on how to recognize and overcome unconscious bias. We serve passengers from all walks of life, ethnicities, and cultures. Our service standards must be consistent and excellent for everyone, regardless of what they wear, what they look like, or who we think they are. I want Sky Alliance Group to be a role model for the entire airline industry when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This starts with how we treat each other and the people we serve. Sincerely, Maya Josephine Robinson, Chief Executive Officer, Sky Alliance Group. Pierre Dubois was called into the HR director's office a week later. He was worried that he would be fired because of the incident with Maya. Instead of being fired, however, he was appointed an ambassador for a new training program, sharing his story as an example of how unconscious biases can influence the way we treat others. Mrs. Robinson doesn't want to fire you, the HR director explained. She wants you to help change our culture. A year later, Skyline International was voted the airline with the best customer service in a global survey. In an interview with Fortune magazine, when asked about the secret to her success, Maya Robinson replied, "We've learned that respect is not a privilege reserved for those who seem to deserve it. It's a basic human right. When you treat people like they own the world, you'll be amazed at how high you can fly." Maya never changed her casual style of dress. On long flights, she always opts for jeans, a t-shirt, and comfortable sneakers. And if she sometimes gets suspicious looks, she just smiles and remembers that every misunderstanding is an opportunity to change someone else's perception. Because at 30,000 feet or on the ground, what really matters is not what you wear or